These are my tips for feeding a crowd. First thing you have to do is decide what you're going to make and for how many people. I like to consider myself a considerate cook, but maybe less for the gluten-free crowd. But you can buy gluten-free pasta. This isn't that. I've decided to make masticholi as well as chicken Alfredo. I filled my stock pot with water and added some salt. So here's something I didn't mention in my last video, but you guys have to clean these trays. I don't care if you're buying these from Costco and they're in that giant set and they look clean. They came from a factory. Wash them with soap and water. Dry them if you need to. If you're using these kinds of trays, you will also need some kind of cover. I'm just gonna use foil because that's what I have. Always, 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 with clean hands, check your pasta for doneness. This was perfect, so it just came right out. And you might be thinking, why 1 spoon at a time and not the colander? It's because of this. This is going right in. This is my next tip. You can use the same pasta water. If I used more water, I could have used the strainer that came with the pot, but I didn't. And on to my next tip. The reason why we cook meat in bulk, then package it and put it away into the freezer. And again, we will use jar sauce if that's what we have. I would love to tell you I use Rao's, but I do not have that kind of money. Classico is good. And so is traditional Prego. Or just make your own sauce, it's fine. Use whatever you have on hand. That's the entire point of this. Also, I didn't have any mozzarella, so this was what went in. And the kids weren't mad about it, they were okay. Whenever I cook meat, I tend to keep it with only a few seasonings. These meals are incredibly forgiving. And while I am over here saving the planet by saving water, I'm still also continuing to test my pasta. Rigatoni is my favorite for masticholi. These little farfalle or bow tie pasta is my favorite for chicken Alfredo. If you have the capacity, if you have the time, if you have it fresh, use broccoli, but you would have had to have cooked that in the pot. And then, you know, mixa. I'm bringing this food over to my in-laws, and I know a couple days ago you saw me do the masticholi, but that was for church, so this is a different situation here. Also, never use food that you have used. Like if you just made spaghetti like I did 2 days ago, you're not going to use that sauce for feeding a group of people. The meat here was cooked with a large batch of meat and portioned off to use however we need to. This is not considered used meat. This is clean meat. Everything's good here. You mix this up. If you have more cheese, add more cheese. If you need more sauce, add more sauce. Throw this in the oven. I'm just trying to make the cheese melt and make sure everything's hot, you know? For the chicken Alfredo, you don't actually have to use chicken. Or you can make chicken. It's up to you. I used a rotisserie chicken. It's just what was easiest for us. Also, I'd like to mention that I did this all like in under an hour. And there were a lot of leftovers for the party of 10. I use these aluminum containers because I don't plan to bring anything home ever. And if somebody's going to keep it at their house, then they shouldn't have to clean dishes later. It's nice enough that they hosted. So this is my biggest tip right here. Corrugated boxes make for much easier transport of food that is very hot, and it works really well because it's insulated and it's sturdy. And while I didn't mean for it to work out this way, the tape was still on there and I just shut the box. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something from here because